Everyone out there, Dan here from Geekcast Radio doing another comic book review. This time I'll be discussing Cable and Deadpool annual number 1. This is written by David F. Walker with an entire slew of artists. It seems like every third page there's a different artist. So from Paco Diaz to Luke Ross to Leonard Rick, a lot of people honestly I'm not super familiar with. And what was kind of surprising is I didn't even look at the letter page going through this, and for a book that has like 7 artists on it, it didn't necessarily feel that way. It stayed relatively consistent. So I got to give credit to the editorial staff, who the writer David F. Walker, to help can keep a consistent look throughout the book, even though you're dealing with a whole slew of people. And I will say I was highly anticipating this, probably more than I should, for 2 key reasons. I am a huge fan of Cable and Deadpool, the original series that came out in the early 2000s. I have a video about basically what got me back into comics, how that got back into comics. Cable and Deadpool are 2 of my favorite characters from the 90s. I do very much recognize their flaws of characters, but I feel like if they're written well, they can be great. Plus, there is obviously a lot of nostalgia bias right there. So, and of course, getting the Rob Liefeld cover did bring me back to the 90s heyday of X-Force, with a gigantic oversized gun that's legitimately bigger than Deadpool. But the shoulder pads are a little smaller than normal, and not that many pouches for Rob Liefeld. So he's maturing. He's getting older, and I think he's growing up a little bit. But so going into this, I thought, let's have a fun issue. Let's see how this goes. And this reminded me of two things. One, it did remind me of the Cable and Deadpool series of old. It did have that voice, which never really got a true finale. It stopped being the Cable and Deadpool and started to be Deadpool and whatever guest star, because Cable got his own series. So this felt kind of like a nice later send-off that we never really got during that time, even though it's a new writer. And I mentioned in my comic book haul video that I think that David F. Walker is a really underrated writer. He's very versatile as a writer. Power Man Iron Fist, for example, I thought that was a fantastic series that unfortunately ended much earlier than it should because of lack of sales. His Luke Cage series was quite good. Even his stuff for Boom, Planet of the Apes series was a lot of fun. But seeing him write this again, like he's writing in the voices of these characters. Deadpool feels like Deadpool. I will say his Cable is a little bit more humorous than I like. I like it's much more effective when Cable is very much that straight-laced, mission-focused type of person. He has a couple little puns in this, even if they are maybe not purposeful. That I thought was a little, maybe stretching it a little bit too far. But I thought his Deadpool felt like the Deadpool, not of the movies, but Deadpool of the comics of old, of the early 2000s. So I thought that was quite good. And what this is, it is a time travel story with some nods to Doctor Who, which I thought were more poignant, considering you're dealing with Cable, who's always time traveling someplace, and having a nod like that doesn't, I think, focus on it too much. It doesn't make the joke too obvious. So it's, even with a character like Deadpool, and is breaking the fourth wall. And honestly, this has one of the best breaking the fourth wall moments of Deadpool that I've read in some time, where he's comparing kind of the art of movies to the art of film, and how they should be compared, and the differences between them. And I thought that was actually a clever way to deal with that common trope of Deadpool. So got to get kudos there. And what it eventually leads into with Deadpool with a plunger, is Deadpool going back to save what he thinks is his mom from an evil robot coming to kill her. If it sounds like Terminator 2, yes, they make that joke, but perhaps maybe he's being misled for other notorious reasons. And there are debuts for those that focus on things like debuts of new characters. I think we do have a debut of a new character, the person that is supposed to be Deadpool's mom, and as well as that Doctor Who rip-off character. I don't know if they'll ever show up again ever, but with Marvel Comics and comics in general, you never know. Sometimes a character that pops up in an annual years later becomes really popular or something like that. Who knows? And it did feel like annuals of old. The annuals before we had event comics that were the event comics. Those big, bold, over the top stories that felt special or different from the normal comic or the normal series run. It was an annual, I think that reflected the terminology of annual well. And if you are a person that really enjoyed the Cable and Deadpool series of old, if you enjoy those two characters, maybe you're not digging the current Cable series or Cable Deadpool series or the current Deadpool series, I think you'll probably find this a lot of fun. I mean, you have gladiators riding dinosaurs. I don't know what more in the world you could ever want outside of gladiators riding dinosaurs, and that will eventually become its own comic, most likely. Like I said, it's not rewriting the book of what Cable and Deadpool do. It's just doing what they do well, with a little bit of a crazy adventure thrown in, traveling throughout time. So I was really happy with the end product and what we got, and got to give David F. Walker credit. And if this ever leads into a Cable and Deadpool ongoing or miniseries, there's been some here and there that I felt like just didn't quite get to what made that series great. There was one, I think, last year or around the time Deadpool came back out. This was the first time where I felt like this made sense and it worked well. And I'm surprised that this didn't come out when the movie did. But I don't know, I guess they're trying to cash in a few months later. Maybe the Blu-ray is coming out now. So there you go. And if you're someone worried, oh no, it's just going to feel like Josh Brolin and Ryan Reynolds instead of Cable and Deadpool, that's not the case. So I do like that it's not just feeling like a movie tie-in rather than a comic itself. But yeah. So that's it for me. If you read this, let me know. If you are a Cable or Deadpool fan, let me know. Are you a product of the 90s like myself? But if you want to listen for more of me or see more of my stuff, go to geekcastradio.com. For now, just remember, comics are for everyone. The key is finding the right one. Until next time, thanks for watching.